Whilst I am most excited for KDE Plasma 6 as it's mostly done, and some KDE developers are already daily driving an early version, it is not the only desktop environment I've been keeping tabs on. Another one being Cosmic by System76. Now, as a recap, it is not based on an existing desktop environment. It's not based on Gnome, it's not based on KDE, or anything else. It's its own original thing. It is Wayland first, built on top of the Smithy project, not WL roots. Its development is Rust first, making use of the Iced toolkit, a toolkit that no other desktop environments are using. They are making massive changes to it, and it's coming along quite well, but it's been about 7 months since I last did a video talking about Cosmic, so it seems like as good a time as any to check in on the project and just see what's been going on. I'll leave all of the update blogs linked in the description down below, as I'll mostly be talking about the highlights. But let's get started with the May update, Mayflowers Spring Cosmic Showers. This update occurred not that long after the Red Hat HDR Hackfest, which, whilst not much hacking was done, a lot of really important discussions were had, and it's a big part of the reason why GameScope now has HDR support for use with the new Steam Deck OLED. It's a big part of the reason why Plasma 6 now has rudimentary HDR support. Also, Victoria, a developer working on Smithy and Cosmic Comp, recently attended an excellent Red Hat organized HDR Hackfest. While there wasn't much hacking, there was progress discussing and planning for short-term and long-term requirements to enable a quality HDR and color management experience on Linux. We plan to support HDR in Cosmic in conjunction with the HDR progress made throughout the community. Due to the state of kernel APIs, HDR can be quite power intensive. The work for full proper support is expected to take a couple of years. In the short term, we may offer the ability to enable and disable HDR in Cosmic. There are more considerations, including the handling of ICC color profiles. This is what people talk about when they mainly talk about color management, and will soon survey System76 customers to help us prioritize our work in this area. I am so happy this is a problem finally being dealt with, but as a prerequisite, 10-bit color support has already been added into Cosmic Comp, which is the Cosmic Compositor. Now, another big thing on the radar this time is accessibility, and when you're using a fairly immature toolkit like Iced, a lot of the things you expect to be there from things like GTK, from things like Qt, are not going to be there. So, AccessKit, a UI cross-platform accessibility infrastructure project, has been growing in popularity and is also written in Rust. We built an Iced and Access proof of concept that worked quite well, and our Iced request for comment for AccessKit integration has made the official roadmap. Also, the Orca screen reader is now working in Cosmic. But we're still working on adding important functionality like keyboard control. This is a more complex issue than it might sound, due to Wayland limiting keystroke access to each application separately for improved security. Now, they could work around this. A lot of compositors are doing this now, like Hyperland, for example, and we'll be exploring the libEI, which is emulated input library, to gain insight into the current state of this potential method to enable additional screen reader functionality in Cosmic. For my usage, I don't need any of these accessibility features. Whether they're there or not really does not affect me. But there are a lot of users out there who desperately need these, who simply cannot use their system unless they're available. And it is nice to have screen reader functionality, but the hotkey stuff needs to be there. There is work being done with the hotkey portal, and hopefully by the time that Cosmic is done, all of that stuff has been dealt with as well. But right now, for a lot of people, Wayland is literally unusable. It's not uncomfortable to use, it's they actually cannot use it. Cosmic panels are central to the Cosmic DE ethos. While Cosmic will be the flagship experience on Pop! OS, it's designed to be useful for people, distros, companies, and organizations to create and offer their own unique experience. Another thing you can do with them is have custom applets. So each of these little buttons in here are an applet. These are similar to what you already see on Gnome, but you can go and create your own ones. So if you want to have a clipboard, a notes, a weather applet, or custom menus, those can be done as well. Each of these little buttons in here is an applet. They can be added and removed as you see fit. And by default, there'll be things that you expect to be there. Things like notifications, workspaces, applications, battery, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and media controls. But in the future, you can add things like clipboards, notes, weather, custom menus, and anything else that you or someone else might want to make. Moving on to June, Cosmic DE, tiling redesign and libcosmic rebasing. Now, of course, tiling isn't going anywhere, but by not being tied to Gnome, it offers a lot more freedom in what can actually be done. And one of the things discussed in here is the idea of a window group. So these 3 windows here, you can see by the grey box around them, are in a window group. Now, a window group acts to the rest of the other windows as a single window. So if you resize this window on the left, the entire group would be resized. If you move the group, all the windows in the group would be moved at once. You can rotate the members in the group, and it only rotates those windows. You can resize one of the windows in the group, and it only resizes against the rest of the group. This GIF is kind of terrible and shows way too many things at once, but it does show part of the group functionality. You might have seen there the windows being rotated in the group, window left the group. Here, a window is added, it's put into the group, then we rotate things separately. There should be a video here, not a GIF. But another thing you can do is when windows are in a group, you can collapse that group into a single window that is a tabbed interface that you can go through as if it's a web browser. I'm personally not a fan of this stacking or tabbing interface, whichever term you want to be using. Stacking technically means floating in different contexts, but I don't particularly like tabbed windows. I accept it with a browser because I don't want 20 instances of a browser open. But for other things, I generally want to see all the windows at once. However, that's my opinion. And I know there are some people out there that absolutely love tabs, and I'm happy they're here for you. Assuming you're not overwhelmed by the number of hotkeys available and the number of ways you can interact, having more ways to control your desktop is almost always a good thing. And with that, we move into July. Cosmic Skies of a Colorado July. At this point, the experience is really starting to come together, and some nice little additions are added, like when you resize a window, it will tell you the keys for how to actually resize a window. So if you maybe forget the key you need to use, and then you resize with your mouse, it acts as a refresher. Also, in case you're wondering, the tooltip they have on there is going to be localized into your preferred language, so if you're not an English speaker, it won't say grow and shrink, it will say whatever the word that makes sense for you is. At this stage, the notifications daemon was very much a work in progress, and you'll see updates to it over the next coming blog posts, but at this stage, it still did the main thing that it needed to do. You could see notifications actually functioning. But unlike Pop! OS 22.04 LTS, where the same process is responsible for receiving and displaying notifications, Cosmic's applets add an extra layer of complexity and security by using separate processes. Each instance of each applet is its own process. So if 2 applets request to display a notification across 3 displays, that's 6 total processes being managed by the notifications daemon using mere milliseconds of CPU resources. Honestly, I don't understand why they're doing it like this, but I guess if, one of them crashes, it doesn't bring the entire system down. That's the only thing that really makes sense to me. One thing I do know the reason for, though, is fractional scaling. So in Gnome, there is fractional scaling hidden behind, I believe, a build option and then a toggle in the menu, and in Cosmic, there is going to be fractional scaling support as well, because there just should be. There's no reason to argue against it. What's not clear is if it's going to be true fractional scaling, or the way it currently works in Gnome, where it scales to the next highest integer, and then scales back down, leading to a lot of things being very blurry. There is a Wayland protocol in the works to deal with this, and by the time Cosmic is done, I would hope all of that stuff is sorted. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's move on to August. Customizing Cosmic, theming, and applications. One of our objectives early on was to provide an easy and meaningful way to personalize your desktop's appearance. In order to build customization into the foundation of Cosmic DE, we need to make sure the design system was themable. We all love themes. Themes are great. You'll be able to customize how your system looks directly in Cosmic settings. Beyond just changing from dark to light mode and choosing an accent color, you can change the application background, interface text palette tint, and neutral palette tint. You'll also be able to choose one of 3 styles for the corner radii used throughout the interface and set an interface density. Now this is the part I think is really neat. To ensure those options work seamlessly, the design system is architected a certain way. Nothing in the components of the design system is meant to be hard-coded, so the system relies on using variables not merely for colors, but also for spacing, icon sizing, and corner radii. But they still have a focus on useful levels of color contrast. One of the challenges in color customization relates to maintaining necessary color contrast while giving enough freedom to create. To solve for this, theme colors are automatically derived from the few base colors you can customize. For example, when you select a specific application background color, the system uses it to derive colors for other surfaces and text placed on those surfaces. When you choose a text tint color, the text colors automatically adjust to use this tint. Neutral tint colors bring subtle tint into various widgets, including background and text in search input and tabs. Basically, a lot of the theme is going to be automatically generated based on the bits you can customize. And I think that is really great for the less technical users who want something that just looks good, but don't really care about the specifics of each individual color. I do hope that with everything being a variable, there is some way to customize every little thing, even if it ends up looking absolutely terrible and you shouldn't be using it. Following on from an earlier blog post, we have the Notification Center. The Notifications applet has been integrated into Cosmic DE, and unlike Pop! OS 22.04 LTS, notifications exist in their own applet, separate from your calendar. Why you would put notifications and your calendar together, I don't know. In addition, multiple notifications from the same application will stack in the Notification Center, reducing clutter. See in action down below. So if you were to take like a bunch of screenshots, for example, you wouldn't just have a wall of screenshot notifications. It'd be like, okay, just squish them, and then if you want to show more, you can click the show more button. Let's move on to September. Cosmic September, new window swapping mode. This, I think, is a super cool feature. Typically, swapping a tiled window with another one is kind of annoying. Now, if they're right next to each other, there's no problem whatsoever. But what if I want to swap this window and this window here? Well, I'll need to drag this one down and then move that one up. It's not a big deal, but there might be a better way. And that better way is the window swapping mode. So with this, if you hold down Super X, it then puts you into swap mode. You can then drag that window where you want it to go, and when you do that, it swaps the window's places. Honestly, I really like the idea of this, and I kinda wish that more window managers actually offered this. For you laptop and touchscreen users out there, gesture support. The compositor now supports the pointer gestures protocol, allowing gestures like pointer zoom to work in supported applications, and support was added for touchpad gestures to Smithy, which has then been wired up to Cosmic Comp. Also kind of expected, but there is now a settings screen for controlling the panel and dock. So not only do you have that really powerful panel system, you now have a way to actually, customize it. And finally, we move to the latest post, the October post, locked and loaded with new Cosmic DE updates. And this is something which was obviously going to be there, but wasn't done before. Designs and most engineering for the Cosmic lock and login screens are now complete. And this is going to hook into the rest of the theming system. So you can do fun things like what Jeremy Soller did, where he made this very Doom-inspired theme. And honestly, I think it looks really, really cool. Now, this isn't pulling colors directly from the wallpaper. He went and set the colors manually. But there is a possibility of a Pywall-like feature being considered in the future. The login screen is more than just pretty. It does actually have a function. Here you can check date and time, Wi-Fi and battery statuses, keyboard input language, and switch users. From the login screen, you can also restart or power off your computer. Meanwhile, using the gear icon will switch your software session. from Pop! OS with Cosmic to Pop! OS with KDE, for example. Even though it's not even out yet, there's already a community contribution. This is the tiling applet. So it gives you some hints about how the tiling actually works, and then gives you some shortcuts to actually get to the places where you can control the tiling, along with some basic things in here, like controlling gaps and automatically tile windows and things like that. And the final thing I want to mention is support for modifier-only key bindings. Modifier keys such as Control, Shift, and Alt affect the actions taking place on a key press. Sometimes, though, pressing solely a modifier key can have the same effect. For example, the super key activating the launcher, or the Alt key showing top bar buttons in Firefox. Support has been added for this, and at least one Cosmic team member is very happy to have their launcher shortcut back. Sorry, one final thing. DRM leasing for VR device support. This missing is the single reason why Gnome does not support VR headsets on Wayland. The Gnome developers want to do it their own different way, and everybody disagrees, including Valve. So, I'm happy that Cosmic is not making the same mistake. But that's for a whole separate video I'll get around to at some point. For now, Cosmic. Cosmic is coming along really, really well, and whilst I don't have any plans to use it, I'm very curious to see what happens when it gets into the hands of users, because whilst we can see what they're doing, it's not until users actually mess around with it and use it in ways the developers weren't really intending do we really see if a lot of the things they're trying are actually good ideas. I don't know when it's going to be generally available, but when it is, you can be sure there's going to be a video on it. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you interested in seeing what Cosmic can do? Are you currently running Pop! OS with their, customized version of Gnome they call Cosmic? Let me know. If you liked the video, go like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, Patreon subscribe to the link in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and soon I will be a desktop environment user.